the local sponsor of the Thom Hartmann program in Chicago. I can't imagine anything more important to any building than a roof, and union-built roofs are built to last. Listen to my show weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, sponsored by Roofers Local 11.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
It is Thursday. See, now I'm saying it with more confidence. You know why, Lady B? Because I checked. I checked and I double checked. Because I want to say that with a sense of authority. Because there are days when I lose track, especially in the last 2 years. Time doesn't really mean anything. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to catch up in just a little bit with Kirk Bangstad, our friend from Monoqua Brewery, to find out how things are going with his federal lawsuits against school districts that are not enforcing safety measures in order to protect children against COVID, and thereby exposing families in many communities across Wisconsin to the virus. And we're also going to check in with Marlo Lyons. She is a career coach, and she also is an author. And I want to talk to you about her work when it comes to making those decisions to change careers, which can be terrifying. She talks a lot about that. So that's what's coming up a little bit later. Right now, it's your conversation. It's all your conversation. Call anytime during the show. We would love to hear from you. 773-763-WCPT. That's 773-763-9278. And we are live streaming on our Facebook page. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our page right there, as well as our YouTube channel, because we would love to make sure that you are up to date when we go live and a lot of the exciting things and fun things that we're doing around here. We'll also, during the show, just to tease you, make sure that you're staying tuned, I have another 3-day pair of passes to give away for Wizard World, and we'll be broadcasting remotely from there next Friday. So I'm excited about that as well. And I'm excited to take our first call. Matt in Chicago is calling. Yes, let's talk about this. Hey, Matt, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good. I'm glad I can call pretty late with Patti Vasquez earlier.
Pretty early. It's so weird, isn't it? It's like daylight out and everything.
I know, it's crazy.
It is.
You must have had a weird sleep pattern change when you moved.
Oh, Matt, I had a weird everything while I was there, so everything is better now, believe me. But you wanted to call and talk about what a lot of people in Chicago are talking about. What in particular do you want to talk about today?
Shootings.
Yep.
Let's talk about shootings. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as I know, I have...
Uh-oh.
There haven't been any today.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're in and out a little bit. Sorry. Yes, go ahead. Yes, you said there were no shooting. As far as you know, we haven't seen any reports of shootings today. I'm guessing somewhere in the city there has been. But what were you going to say about yesterday?
Yesterday, a teen was killed, and 9 other people were shot and wounded. Most of these are drive-bys. Every so often, you'll get one that's just a straight-up mugging, and somebody fights back and they get shot. Their wallet or their phone or whatever. And the police aren't really doing anything about it. I mean, I guess they are. There's only so much they can do. But all I ever see is Lori Lightfoot saying, we're going to find these people and we're going to put a stop to it, and then nothing happens.
Right. Well, and I think that there was something that President Preckwinkle mentioned that I do, in a sense, agree with, which is that over-policing isn't going to be the solution here. And I certainly don't think that people who want to bring in the National Guard are right, because I don't even know how that, unless you can explain to me how that works, and we're not just targeting certain communities, because now we're seeing shootings, as you mentioned, that shooting, there was one at Irving and Western, and there was another near Irving and Damon, I believe, and these are North Side communities that have they've had gang problems and violence in the past, but not to this degree and not this brazenly. And I don't know how much of it is also spurred by the desire to go viral on social media that we haven't quite seen before. The shooting at Fulton Market with these cars racing down the street, one guy out the window with his camera clearly trying to capture that. I don't know, as far as, do you think the police, are you saying that you think the police aren't following up and doing their best to arrest people? And I don't know how much Kim Foxx's office is, as we saw with that back and forth with her and the mayor saying that she couldn't press charges because it was inter-gang warfare and they didn't have enough evidence and witnesses and things like that. So I'm not sure how much more.
I don't. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Go ahead, Matt. Your turn. Thank you.
First, let's talk National Guard. We did the National Guard thing. I think it was 1 or 2 summers ago, during the first months of the pandemic, when George Floyd was killed, and then all hell broke loose pretty much everywhere. And those lootings still happen. There's still smash and grabs up and down Michigan Avenue. There's, I think it was 2 nights ago, my friend is a security guard over at Norfolk Port. They did a smash and grab in the mall at the Louis Vuitton that's in the mall in Norfolk. So, it's spreading everywhere.
Yeah.
Do I think that we can put the National Guard in every single city in Illinois? No, I think that's ridiculous. On the other hand, do we just relegate them to a few communities? That's also ridiculous.
Right.
Because that leads to a whole racial profiling angle.
Right.
So, what I would like to see is Kim Foxx actually attempt to do something. And I will tell you, I voted for Kim Foxx. And she lost my support as soon as the whole Josie Smollett thing happened. She lost my support.
That was the kicker for you?
Nothing.
Right.
She did nothing. And to a person who perpetuated and fakes a hate crime. Now, let me clarify, I'm a Democrat through and through. But the way to combat red hats and other people of the like is not to frame them, it is to attack them with the facts and with the truth. The fact is, Kim Foxx does nothing. Kim Foxx does nothing to quell the violence. Kim Foxx does nothing to bring anybody up on charges because she likes to live in a little homeostasis bubble where things will happen, and then she'll say she'll do something, and she might do a little bit, but come the end of the day, she does nothing. That is why, in the next election, we need to get her out.
And I think that you're speaking to something that a lot of people are feeling, which is not having faith in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, and that's problematic. Whether it's the police department or citizens in general, I don't know how we move forward if people just feel like not enough is being done. The mayor called her out on it, and again, we're all Monday morning quarterbacks giving our 2 cents about something that we aren't on the inside of, and yet we are now exposed in so many communities to the violence, the fallout from this. I don't know how we right this ship at all.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the mayor. I'm sure the mayor is a nice lady. I had her poster up in my apartment building saying, with the little face, with the little picture of her standing everywhere, saying, "Don't go out." But the fact of the matter is, our mayor
Bangstad
has lost the faith of the police department. And it's pretty clear that police and her don't necessarily get along. And we need a mayor who can at least work functionally. They don't have to like each other, but they at least have to work functionally together. And every time an officer is shot, and that happens quite a bit, the mayor and the police have a greater divide growing, and we need a mayor and a Cook County District Attorney who actually work with the police.
Yep.
And that is not Lori Lightfoot, and that is not Kim Foxx. I'm sure they're nice people. Well, I'm sure Lori is. But something needs to be done, and we need to vote them out in the upcoming. I don't even know when the election is for them. My brain is.
I know. It should be in March of 23, I believe. It's got to be the next general election for the city of Chicago. Is that right?
Yeah,
for Cook County? I don't know if that's. I'll have to check.
And if worse comes to worse, Patty,
Mm-hmm.
you run for mayor. Delia, Lady B. Run.
There you go.
For Cook County State's Attorney.
No, I think
we know that she is a hard nose when it comes to crime, and we need help, and we're not getting it. And I don't know if the governor can. I still think that Pritzker's doing a fairly good job, not the best job, but Pritzker still got my vote. But he needs to do something and step in Chicago, because the mayor and the Kim are not doing anything.
Right. It's either for the mayor, I'm fairly certain it's in March of 23, and Kim Foxx is either then or next November. I'm terrible with these. It can't be next November. I'll have to look. We'll have to look these things up. But again, what do we do in the meantime is the question. Thank you so much for calling, Matt. I appreciate it.
Yes, and as always, stay up pretty late with Patti Vasquez during the day.
That's right. We're staying up till 6. After 6, you can take a nap and get up later. Take care, Matt. I'll talk to you again soon. And Steve from the Gold Coast wanted to chime in before we go to the break. Wanted to see what Steve's thoughts are. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. And yes, so you were correct. Actually, Kim Foxx was just reelected this last fall, so yeah, we've got almost 3.5 years left.
Yeah, so that's
that
that makes sense.
Right.
So 24. So fall of 24 is yep.
Exactly. And there is no panacea here. I mean, on the one hand, I understand the calls to do something like bring in the Guard. And yes, I mean, that would free up Chicago police to do other things. Believe you me, if people who have never been to a place where military have been deployed, there's no greater deterrent than a few guys standing around with body armor and M4s next to an armored personnel carrier. I guarantee you that the Gucci store and Louis Vuitton store on Michigan Avenue would be relatively safe if we were to deploy such forces. But on the other hand, there's a downside to that, because, you know, what you want in a city, when you want people to come and shop and visit and stroll up and down the streets, you don't want it to look like there's a military occupying force there.
Good point.
Because that's not exactly why people want to come to a city either, because that also sends the wrong message. So I don't know that there's a sort of a catch-all answer as to how we can resolve this. I do know that you're absolutely right in that, you know, from going back as far as, you know, anyone can remember, the concentration of violence and crime was always there, especially on the south and west sides. But now that it's eking into parts of the city where it wasn't traditionally, where you have people who have a certain socioeconomic and, let's face it, racial background, now it's become a crisis. And there's this fear that if those people leave, and mind you, there are a couple of things we need to keep in mind. We can chew gum and walk at the same time. Post-COVID world, how many companies are going to opt to let people work from home? So, in other words, how many people will have an incentive to not live in the city any longer? Because, hey, you know what? I can live out in Hinsdale. I can live out in Orland Park or on the North Shore, wherever. I don't have to pay a fortune to live in downtown because I don't have to go into the office and move any longer. And then couple that with the problem of crime, and you might have another exodus. I mean, keep in mind, those of us old enough to remember when the cities emptied out, New York, Chicago, Miami, big cities all over the country in the 60s and 70s. And it left, you know, some smaller property tax base. It left a few businesses. And it wasn't until really the onset of the 90s when people started to return to major cities like New York and Chicago.
Right.
And of course, that brought a lot of tourists. That brought, you know, a lot of visitors. That brought a lot more revenue. People sold their homes in the suburbs and said, "I'm moving to the city. I'm going to live in Lincoln Park instead of Monoqua. The kids are out of school." But if crime is out of control, and not just in Inglewood, but if it's out of control in Lincoln Park, and people, you know, are paying $2 million for a condo to live there because they want to be near everything that's going on, they can very easily just sell and decide to relocate once again.
Oh yeah.
And that's the question, because in an ideal world, all communities should be considered equally and viewed that way. But in the real world, if we lose certain communities where the tax base is, you know, the guy who owns a $5 million home in Old Town, Gold Coast, or Lincoln Park, he's a bigger loss than somebody who has a $150,000 home parts of the city. And again, it's not a perfect world, but that's the world in which we live. And if he takes his business along with that home after he sells it, that's another loss.
Right.
I mean, this is 20 employees, and you can go down the line, and he's no longer shopping and eating out and all the other things that he subsidizes. So, yeah, I don't have the answers, but, I mean, this is a complex issue, and it's just a question of how we're going to resolve it. And it's amazing how we went literally 180-degree turn from last summer when we were talking about defunding the police and
right.
reform and everything else to a discussion about how can we get more officers to take the test so that we can get 1,000 police officers out on the street, get tough on crime, get the knuckleheads off the streets. So again, 180-degree turn.
It is.
And it's just amazing.
And the conversation is, at the very least, we can all connect and try to figure this out. But in the meantime, what's going on in City Hall is where a lot of decisions are made. I've got to run, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you. I hope Dave from Hoffman Estates will still call in. I hope we didn't. Well, we'll figure it all out later. We're checking with Kirk Bangstad when we come back from Minocqua Brewery. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Rick Unger.
We need both parts of this infrastructure. We need the physical infrastructure, but we also need the human infrastructure. It's critical. It is important. It is a major step forward, probably among the most significant legislation that we have seen since the Great Depression. It is important stuff. It does important things for people that really need to be done and should be done.
Rick Unger, weekday evenings at 6, right here on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-590-7516. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-590-7516. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-590-7516. 800-590-7516.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
There's so much that goes on behind closed doors
on WCPT 820.
There is so much that goes on behind closed doors. That's why we have conversations right here on WCPT 820. And we're excited to welcome back our friend Kirk Bangstad from Minocqua Brewing. He has filed federal class action lawsuits in Wisconsin for many school districts failing to protect children from COVID-19. How is that going, Kirk?
Oh, wow. It's like breathing through a fire hose, my dear.
I love that analogy. It's one of my favorite analogies. You're like, oh, what about... too much. It's all at once. So first of all, give us a little bit of... Catch folks up to what you decided to do in Wisconsin as a progressive who is trying to be this beacon of of facts and science and keeping people safe.
Yeah, so we talked last week, and I said we were kind of gearing up for this. And so we finally released the lawsuit. And by the way, it's not me. My super PAC is funding the lawsuit, but there's an actual real plaintiff, and it's a parent in Waukesha County in the Waukesha School District, not far away from you guys, who was in the healthcare industry and was protected herself and her husband who was a doctor from COVID for the whole time that COVID was there, and they were dealing with COVID patients. And then the school district decided to remove all COVID mitigations and protections, and their kid got sick with COVID and brought it back to their home. And they were furious. And so they were willing to be the plaintiffs in the Eastern Federal Judicial District, which so we filed that lawsuit yesterday morning. And so the goal is we're suing the Waukesha School District, but we're going to hopefully swoop up all the school districts in that side of Wisconsin that aren't adhering to the CDC kind of regulations on indoor gatherings, which is obviously what's happening in schools everywhere. And then later next week, we're going to probably file in the western Wisconsin district to cover all the rest of the school districts that aren't protecting kids. So that's where we're at. And the goal of these lawsuits, I think I probably mentioned yesterday, is to focus on kind of a public nuisance argument. So it's like if a bunch of manufacturing plants are spewing carcinogens in the air, then you can do a class action against all of them because they're hurting people, in different cities. And so we're kind of equating that kind of logic to this, because all these different school districts in different counties are basically creating super spreader events because their school boards have been overrun with the Trump cult whack jobs who are anti-maskers. And so because of that, they're creating a very big pollution / public nuisance / super spreader event, which we hope to get removed with a really nice judge who puts all these regulations back into place.
And I'm reading that this is something that the lawsuit alleges that this is also violating the 14th Amendment, which ensures the right to be safe from state-created dangers while in school. Are the lawyers using precedents in other situations where it's been proven that the state is creating a dangerous situation?
Well, so there's not a whole... So precedence is weird because pandemics only happen every 100 years, apparently. So we don't really have precedence in the pandemic world, but our lawyer's using this argument of, the schools created a social contract between schools and kids to protect them last year when they had... when they had people masking, when they had contact tracing, when they were quarantining and letting each other know when people were quarantined, which they're not doing now. And so because that contract was created last year and then they removed all of that, then that's somewhat of that is the kind of a breaking of a contract and endangering students. That contract usually doesn't exist between government and its citizens. Like, you can't sue the police necessarily if you have a bad crime and crime-ridden neighborhood. But because those mitigations were put in place last year and then they were removed, that's kind of what the argument is. Like, that's why we think it's a logical argument. We hope it works.
I agree. And it's astounding to me because their refusal to institute mitigating elements and restrictions, or at least requiring students to wear masks, requiring the teachers. So are teachers required to have vaccinations? I'm guessing not in Wisconsin, right?
No. So nothing. There's absolutely nothing. No requirements. So these kids are unvaccinated who are too young to get vaccinated. They're going to school. They're getting COVID. They're potentially giving it to the teachers. The teachers can't sue. They've tried that already, and the federal courts have said this is an OSHA issue, and you have to file your complaints through OSHA. So we know we can't protect teachers via lawsuits. We've learned that already. So it's a free-for-all right now in much of Wisconsin, and our cases are going through the roof. I think Illinois right now, I was talking to a really good friend from Illinois, and he's like, we have the same amount of cases as Illinois does, but you guys have like 2 or 3 times our population. So it's just ridiculous what's happening in Wisconsin.
It is. It's unconscionable, and as you said, it's creating a situation where your quote is saying it's throwing kids into a snake pit, but it's not just them being in a snake pit because they bring it home, and then you're exposing people who might be more vulnerable, who can't get vaccinated, who want to be protected. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. The kids are probably not going to die of COVID. There's no telling how their lungs or circulatory systems might be affected 20 years down the road. But the statistics are not, are saying that they're probably not going to die right now. But my gosh, how many people are going to die when those kids get it and bring it home to their frail grandparents?
Exactly, especially if there are people who are living in multi-generational homes, or in the case that you're working on, that there's somebody in the healthcare industry, then you have somebody who's in the community who, we don't want folks who are helping each other, who have to be there one-on-one, make them you don't want to put somebody in a vulnerable situation for anybody. It defies reason. How can folks get involved? I know, by the way, that one way they can do that is probably buying some of the incredible Monoqua brewing beer, some of those progressive beers, because we had a guest on. I know that our friend Jerry sent you the clip. Someone loved the Kamala beer, and they love that it helps them remember how to say her name, Kamala, because it's on the can. And you've expanded into Illinois, I see.
Yeah, I'm desperately trying to get a distributor to distribute the beer, but Wisconsin's got my beer everywhere, but you Chicagoans, it's like the mafia down there trying to get your beer sold. So it's pretty tough, but we are in the Woodman's in Bloomingdale, and the one in the Woodman's in Carpenterville is on the verge of carrying it in about a week. But Woodman's is nice to us because they're all over Wisconsin, and there's a few in the suburbs of Chicagoland. So if I would encourage anybody that wants to help us out to call the Woodmans and say, you should carry this guy's beer. You're already in Wisconsin. That would help us out in the near term really well.
Well, and I know a fan of yours, our friend Mark, has been he'd like to sit down and talk about trying to get into Binny's because he loves your beer and loves what you're doing. And that's the thing too, by the way, folks. You may not be able to vote in Wisconsin, but we can buy their beer and help with the super PACs in situations like not only in this lawsuit, this federal class action lawsuit in Wisconsin and Waukesha, but also with elections coming up, because we need Wisconsin. We need Wisconsin to step up and be a part of doing what's right going forward.
Yeah, so the whole thing, Patty, is northern Wisconsin is deep red, and that's what I focused on. I sell my beer and I give 5% of all my profits to the Super PAC, which focuses completely on making northern Wisconsin more progressive so that we don't get stuck with Biden only winning by 20,000 votes out of 5 million people in Wisconsin. We want to make that a couple 100,000 votes and not have to grit our teeth every 4 years and hope that the next Trump doesn't get elected because Wisconsin screwed up.
Yep. By the way, Eileen in Milwaukee says thank you for what you're doing. And we've got a lot of listeners that are excited about the efforts the steps that you're taking, the effort that you're putting into it, and of course they also love your beer. Which is always good. Monoqua Brewery. Tell folks how they can find out more about Monoqua Brewery and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, just our website, MonoquaBrewingCompany.com, but our Facebook page is the most up-to-date, and we talk about everything we're doing politically as well on our Facebook page, which you can just find by searching on Facebook on Monoqua Brewing Company.
Awesome. Let's check. When are you in Chicago next, by the way?
Probably next week. I gotta be Mr. Salesman guy and wine and dine some distributor, or else find something about his uncle so I can hold it against him until he's selling me. That's the way the mafia plays the game in Chicago. I think that's the only way I can get distributed down there.
By the way, how would you make a progressive conservative black and tan? Is what one of our listeners asked. I like that. Good question. We'll have to work on that. That's your assignment now. All right, everyone. Follow Monoqua Brewing on Facebook and stay up to date on everything they're doing up there. You can be a part of that community because there's a lot of great conversations going on the Facebook, including how they cleaned up some graffiti recently. And I want to have you in studio when you're in town. Please.
You got it.
Don't make me beg.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Kirk. Thank you for everything you're doing. Take care. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we're going to check in with Marlo, Lyons career coach and author. 773-763-9278. If you want to join the conversation, anytime, call or text us.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive on WCPT Willow Springs is powered by ComEd. Lower your energy bills and reduce your carbon footprint with the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago traffic update.
In on the Eden, stop and go from Dewey down to the Kennedy Merge. Lake Oak Road down to the junction a half hour. Outbound is clear. On the Kennedy, out to the split 28, 21 in the Express, 54 to here. Inbound from the airport, 50 6 minutes. 23 of that on in from the junction. Hike outbound Slim down to First Avenue. From the Circle out to 390 an hour and 4. Inbound at 58 minutes. Stevenson outbound. That is loaded down from LaGrange to Route 83 with the crash blocking the left lane. Now from DeSable Lakeshore Drive to the Tri-State an hour and 12. It's an hour and a half out to 355. Inbound Stevenson, the entrance ramp from northbound County Line Road, blocked off, and that's due to a rollover crash. Headed out on the Ryan, 42 minutes downtown to 95th, hitting the brakes at 51st. Inbound solid, purging into the burn, 95th back in 29. That's traffic. I'm Mary DeBadges.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m., it's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
Don't mind me, just sneaking out to go to Kohl's. The home deals right now, they're too good to pass up. Like up to 40% off Cuddle Dad's bedding, up to 50% off the cutest fall decor, and up to 25% off Ninja kitchen appliances. How can I resist? You can even get 15% off or 15, 20, or 30% off with a Kohl's card. So yeah, I'm going all in for fall, and I can't even wait. Select styles. Offers end October 17th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is the sound of the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, saving you money and energy while helping you lower your carbon footprint. With discounts on Energy Star certified LED bulbs, so you can come back to a home full of savings. Learn more at ComEd.com/lighting. ComEd, powering lives.
With each breath, allergens, germs, and viruses get trapped in your nose. Now there's a simple and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage, available at Navage.com.
Followers of Trump and something called QAnon attempted a coup at the United States Capitol. Who are these people?
I wanna live with the QAnon girl. I could be happy.
That's our good friend Steve Goody's I Want to Live with a QAnon Girl from his album What I Did During the Pandemic Vacation. And you can go to stevegoody.com for more information and all the great work that he does. And speaking of work, see what I did there? Marlo Lyons joins us. She is a career and professional strategist, business and executive coach. Hi, Marlo. It's great to meet you, this way at least.
Hey, Patty. Nice to meet you, too.
I'm excited to talk to you because I'm very passionate about the work that you do and how you help folks find their path forward, because we start out, whether it's in college or afterwards, thinking that whatever we've chosen to do, whatever career we're in, we have to stay there. And you thought you were going to be a journalist or a broadcaster, right? And then things changed.
I did. I started as a TV news reporter. I actually worked in 5 different states. And then I got fired. And it happens, right? Yeah. I got fired. I was unself-aware back then. I was pretty young, 26. And I said, I'm going to get back in to get out. And so I did. I got back in as a TV news reporter in Oklahoma City, and then I went to law school at night while reporting. And so I moved to California, and I became an entertainment lawyer after that, something totally different. But I was able to use the 10, 12 years experience that I had and the maturity that came with that, right, to transition careers. And I worked in reality shows. This is fascinating. People love this story. I'm the person who pretty much vetted all of the reality show participants on NBC and Viacom. So NBC first, we're talking background checks, psych, medical. And then when I moved to Viacom, I expanded into immigration and foreign travel and child safety and child labor and safety and security. But I'm the one who read people's psych reports. So all of your big reality stars, I pretty much have read their backgrounds.
Oh my! Did you do Last Comic Standing? Because then you probably know a lot of my friends.
I did.
I want to know.
Tell me. I did.
Tell me what we should know about John Heffron or April Macy or Aida Rodriguez. These are a lot of my friends. Jimmy Schubert.
Come on.
I'm just teasing.
I'm teasing. Confidential. But I can tell you, every Real Housewife. I actually worked on The Apprentice.
Okay.
Donald Trump.
Hello.
Oh, yes.
Wait.
I worked on it all. You
Wait.
can only imagine. I worked on Teen Mom, Real World, all the ones on Viacom as well. All the shows that people watch. And,
we're all gonna want to stop at Trump.
There you go. Yeah, pretty much. Right.
Yeah. I'm guessing there's a significant NDA in place. Yes.
Most likely, yeah. My old contracts, right?
Yeah.
So then, after 12 years of that, as exciting as that was, it was great for cocktail parties, but I was bored out of my mind. Like, I was doing the same thing over and over. So I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And like most people, I started from a place of, I have no idea what I want to do. And not only that, what can I do with these skills? I mean, TV news reporter and reality show lawyer. Like, what do those equate to, right?
Right.
So I started figuring out what I wanted to do, and I moved into HR. I actually transferred my skills, so I do strategic HR, which is executive coaching, business coaching, team coaching, and all the things that come with HR. But I had to figure out how to do that, and that's where I get the biggest question, like, how did you do that? I've transferred careers now 3 times, and then I moved into career coaching, and I've coached a couple hundred people now. So I have a really good idea, both of my own experience, of course, but also the HR experience and coaching hundreds of people how to do it, how to move.
Let me see this, so when you were in college, you studied journalism in college?
I studied political communication.
Oh, perfect. That does work very well. And then, so the question. So I have a lot of questions. So first, let me ask about law school, because first of all, my mom's listening, and my mom's from Mexico. She's like, ask her how she did in high school, because she'll do that. She always wanted me to go to law school, and this is something I think for a lot of folks, there is that sort of pang of regret we might have not doing something, and we think it's too late. And I'm guessing you do a lot of work with folks who are like, well, this is what I do now, and it's too late for me to change. What do you say to those folks who think I'm too old, or it's too late, I can't do that, I don't have the time, those sorts of questions?
Oh, absolutely. Look, first, I changed my first career at 32, my second at 47.
Okay.
So I was bordering 48 years old, had babies at home, and so, it's never too late, first of all. I think anybody can transfer, careers and transition careers and transfer their skills. Anybody can, at any age. Because it's really how you position yourself, and it's really looking through the lens of the new job once you figure out what you want to do and positioning your skills through that. So I tell people, how do you do it? You carve out the time for things that are important to you, and if it's important to you and you want to do it, you will do it. I mean, I went to night law school while I was reporting, and reporting is not a 9-to-5 job, as you know, right? And so, I basically went into the office at 8, or the TV station at 8. I reported on the 4 and the 5 o'clock news. I ran to class from 6 to 9 at night, and then I met the live truck at 10 o'clock every night.
Oh my gosh!
And that's what I did, and I did that for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And I took used vacation days for my exam days to make sure I could get there, because if there was a tornado coming through, you weren't going to be getting to your exam. Right. So you do what you want to do. We all gravitate to the thing that's most interesting to us, or what we want to do. Right. And if you truly wanted to do it, you would do it, right?
I know. There are folks that whether it's writing a book or going back to school, things like that. And there are a lot more opportunities now, too, are you finding, where people can do virtual classes. So now, if there was ever a time to evaluate, and again, there have to be so many people over the last year and a half, whether they've worked in the service industry or the healthcare industry, a lot of people trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives, because this isn't working for them. You're getting a lot of those folks, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, and there's not only, lots of online classes, but there's free classes. I mean, there's a ton of free classes that help people move between jobs, learn how to code, learn different skill sets. Just LinkedIn Learning alone will teach you things as well. Google. You can just Google, hey, free class on something, on any subject.
Right.
I am finding today it is easier to transition careers today than it has been in the past, because, quite frankly, there aren't enough workers in different careers. And so you have a chance to bring a new perspective to a job that somebody's been doing for 20 years, but doesn't have that fresh perspective. And if you come from a different career, you come from a different perspective, you bring that different perspective to the role. And that out-of-the-box thinking is very appealing to a lot of hiring managers.
You're absolutely right. And I'm actually someone who has... So I have been a stand-up comic for over 25 years, and I've been a broadcaster for about 8. And I have... but I also have been advocating for families with disabilities for almost 10 years. And in that, I found that I wanted to do the best I could to figure out how the system works. And I have become a policy advisor for the state of Illinois. And so to your point that, people get locked in, I'm actually drawing on my history degree from almost 30 years ago because I had to do research and writing up these dossiers. So what do you tell folks about looking at their lives when you say new perspective? Because again, I think people get locked into it's too late for me. Look at the scope of your life, don't you think?
Well, it's the scope that, a lot of people focus on strengths. I know there's career coaches out there that focus on strengths, and I think strengths are really important. They are. But strengths are not everything. And the thing about strengths is that you could love math. Like, I could be really good in math, but I don't ever want to work in math, right? And so it's not so much, and so it's not so much what you're really good at. It's really what's important to you. And what's important to you are your values. Understanding your values are really that first step of figuring out what you want to do and what you can do and where you gravitate. If you don't figure out your values, then what happens is you move from one bad job or career to another bad job or career because basically you didn't match it against your values. You said, oh, this is a little better than the last thing I had. Right? But anybody, right? Exactly, right? But you can take your skills, no matter what skills you have, if you have had any job, even volunteer jobs, even if you've been out of the workforce for 10, 12 years, I work with a lot of stay-at-home parents who get back into the workforce, you can take your skills from all the time, even the time that you've been out of the commercial workforce, per se, and you can transfer those skills to something new, and that's what you've done. You said, I had an interest, I had a value of wanting to help people. Right? And your value of wanting to help people drew you to working with, you said mentally challenged or disabilities?
Disabilities, yes.
Right, disabilities. And then you said, God, I'm really good at this. And I've had to write and use my writing skills and other skills for that. And look at that. It turned from being a comic to a policy advisor. Who would ever put those two things together?
Exactly. Right. Because we often let people's impression of our careers shape who we are too, rather than us shaping who we are and what we are capable of. We limit ourselves sometimes, and we are limited often by fear. And I've heard you talk about that, the fear of leaving a job that has security, including right now what people are always afraid of is losing health insurance. That's probably one of the biggest barriers to leaving a job, don't you think?
It is. I think, it depends what your values are. If your value is security, then yes, you're not going to leave the job you're in. If you're in a job, though, that you don't enjoy and you're toiling at it every day, and maybe people are on their way home right now from that job, and they're like, oh, I've got to start looking for a job, and they just haven't done it, right? It's time. It's time to say and figure out, what do I want to do? What can I do? But first, what do I want to do? And I make people dream. I make them dream. I make them have no limitations when they dream, when they work with me. And then after they dream, then we narrow it down. Okay, you want to be a zoologist. That's 10 years of school, and you don't have an interest in that. Because then it's not truly what you want to do, right? Because, again, if you truly wanted to do it, you say, school? Great, awesome, let's do it. And I help them then narrow it down, and from there, then you transfer the skills. So I think people truly just need to take that first step, move past the fear, because there's never going to be a good time. Right. Right? You can have young babies, your spouse lost a job, you just need to get past this big project, you just need to finish A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we can keep going. But once you get past that and you say, oh, this is possible, and I built a roadmap in my book, so there's a roadmap on how to do this, then you should be able to take the first step. Yes.
Yeah, you should. And you mentioned something about if you're miserable at the job that you're at and you're just toiling at it. The other thing is, and you talked about being in HR and having expertise in that area. I have been, I obviously talk a lot about from personal experience. I've had a lot of experiences in different situations. But when you're in a toxic work environment for whatever reason, whether it's sexual harassment or somebody else like bullies at work, I actually tried quitting. I told my boss that this job had come at a cost that I was no longer willing to pay, and they begged me to stay, promising to make things better, and it only got worse. And so, folks, I mean, when you feel like when it's making you physically sick, you have to find some way out, don't you?
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there with you.
Yeah.
I've been in a situation where I was trying to leave a job, and I had a bunch of leaders, screaming at the head of HR or whatever, saying, you've got to keep her. And I couldn't stay. I just couldn't do it another minute. I had to leave. And, when you get into really toxic harassment and things like that, those are things you need to report, right? Those are not things that you should just tolerate or endure. But just sometimes you're in an environment that's just not a right fit. You don't feel connected. You don't feel, interested in your work every day. You wake up Monday dreading it. You get migraines over it, stress, anxiety. Those are things that you have to look at and say, is this worth it? Is it worth it to my physical toll? You know, what if I found that thing that I love doing? You spend so much time at work, Patty. My gosh, right?
Right.
So if you spend this much time at work, you should really enjoy what you do. I mean, I can say I wake up every single morning and I'm like, all right, who am I talking to today? Like, I can't wait. I can't wait for my day every day. And it's always, I learn something new and it's an interesting conversation and I'm bringing value. And at the end of the day, I might be tired, but I'm totally exhilarated from my day.
I'm on Facebook Live, so everybody watching on Facebook Live can see my reaction of, yes, that's how I feel when I come here. That's how I feel when I work for the controller. Tonight I've got a stand-up comedy show at the Laugh Factory. I'm excited about that. And it's just so much better. And I want people to hear that. I want people to hear that it is possible, that while you feel trapped, there are paths forward. And your book, you said you have like a guide for folks to take those steps. Where can people find your book?
Yes, it's called Wanted a New Career, the definitive playbook for transitioning to a new career or finding a dream job. It's on Apple and Amazon. The audiobook is coming out soon. The rest of the paperback and the ebook are already done, but the audiobook will be coming out probably in about 2 weeks for those who like to listen on their drive versus read. And it will have a companion guide because obviously there's examples in the book. So, but they can find it and it's available, and it is a roadmap. It is a roadmap of how to do it step by step. I always recommend a career coach. Of course, I am one. However, for those who just want to go on their own, there it is. I basically took everything I've ever taught. It's now in the book.
I want to get it because I still have, there's so many things. Even though I have 3 things I love doing right now, there's more. I want to do more. Don't limit yourself, right?
There's more.
There's more.
What else do you have? There's more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to talk to you about that next time because I've written a bunch of things on my page that I wanted to get to, but I've run out of time and I need to make sure we have you back in the next month so we can talk about these things and let people think about it too, so that maybe they want to call in if they have questions. Would love to have a interview with you and give them that opportunity.
Fantastic. I'd love to do a Q&A with people. I love coming up with great ideas for people in the moment to give them that hope.
Exactly. So don't forget, go to marlolyonsconsulting.com, right, for your website. Coaching.
Marlo Lyons Coaching. Yeah.
You know, our friend Marcella gave me that, and I I closed the page. I apologize.
That's okay.
marlolyonscoaching.com, and that's Lyons with a Y, Lyons. So MARLOLYONS coaching.com. It was great meeting you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great. Thanks so much, Patty. Have a great night and a great show.
Excellent. Get that book, everyone. I'm going to pick it up myself. Take care. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye, Marlo.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's take a break here, and when we come back, we'll take your calls. I know I've got a couple on hold. I've got Brian and Joliet who wants to talk about global warming and climate change. So let's talk about that. There's so many things to talk about. This is the whole point. Topics you want to discuss. So give us a call, 773-763-9278 as we head into the last segment. Oh, and I have a pair of weekend passes, 3-day passes for Wizard World. So I want to take caller number 4 this time for next weekend. That's the 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's going to be the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. I'll read more about that in just a moment. So you have all the information that you need. But right now we're giving away a pair of 3-day passes to Wizard World, 773-763-9278. And we'll take your calls when we come back.
Oh, according to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Yes, free. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
Is that you? Who are you talking to?
82% of you will also know that I, live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/free. How much? Free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Do you check your Google search results regularly? You should. People often get their first impression of you or your business online. Negative comments on the internet can impact your life and your livelihood. Take control of your online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com. It may reveal negative posts from an ex-employee, upset patient or client, news article, legal issue, or even exposed personal information right there in your Google search results. Uncover what's lurking on the internet about you with reputationdefender.com's patented scan and get your free reputation report card. Or for immediate assistance with your reputation, call 800-838-9247. Our cutting-edge technology helps make your Google search results look their best. Call 800-838-9247. 800-838-9247. That's 800-838-9247. Or take the free scan at reputationdefender.com.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now at 773-763-9278. Driving it home with Patti Vasquez now on WCPT 820.
As I mentioned before the break, tomorrow we will give away another pair of 3-day passes. Today we've already given away, I believe, the winner, and Lady B will get me that name in just a moment because I want to make sure I do this all properly. We are giving away a pair of 3-day passes to Wizard World. Wizard World is back at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. Come see your favorite superheroes, authors, actors, and more. I've been going for the last, I think at least since 2015, and we always have a blast. Tickets to Wizard World are still available at wizardworld.com. Wizard World is following COVID precautions, so vaccination cards are required for entry. Contests running on WCPT are open to listeners 18 or older and residents of the Greater Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. 1 entry per person, 1 winner per household. Void where prohibited by law. Listeners may only win or qualify to win once every 30 days. Complete rules are available on our website, and Matt is coming in. Oh, hey, Matt. Let me make sure I got this. And there's your microphone. Hi, Matt. You came running in.
Hey, there's one more thing. If you were interested in Wizard World tickets, we are giving away on our website.
That's right.
A family 4-pack of VIP passes.
What?
So, and tomorrow is the deadline by 9 a.m. tomorrow. So go to the website, WCPT820.com. You'll find the link. Go sign up, and there you go.
Go to the website. Another opportunity for folks to win. Thank you so much, Matt. Are you going to Wizard World? You can come.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, awesome. Because we're going to do a live remote next Friday. Yep. Yay! Thank you so much.
So long. Thanks.
Thank you, Matt. And I know we have a call. I know Brian's been on hold for a little bit. I appreciate your patience, Brian and Joliet. How are you doing today?
Hi, Patty. Fine. How are you?
I am very well. I'm in a good mood. It's Thursday.
Okay. Well, I just want to talk a little bit about the global warming and climate change. I have a cousin. He's retired now, but he was a high-level worker with the National Weather Service, and he's good friends with Tom Skilling. And I was just talking with him yesterday about this, and I just asked him, I know you're not God. No one can predict exactly. How long do you think the human race has if we don't start addressing global warming and climate change, if we don't do something to reverse the trends? I said maybe 50 years. He kind of laughed. 50 years? We'd be lucky if we have 50 years left. And he says, sometimes I lay awake at night thinking about, what's going to happen to my children and grandchildren. It's so serious, the situation. And then that brings me to talk about the $3.5 trillion human infrastructure legislation that Joe Biden's trying to get through. You know of that, don't you?
Of course.
And I guess about $1 trillion of that is for addressing this extremely important topic. Because if this isn't addressed, all the other topics ain't going to mean a whole lot, because the human race apparently isn't going to be around that much longer, and so that's
yeah. Look, we saw people drowning. Brian, we saw people drowning in their own basements in New York, and there was more flooding yesterday in other cities around the world because of rising sea levels and in reaction to these storms that come through. And not only do we need to do something to slow down the rate of climate change, but also how we respond to extreme weather?
Well, apparently the Republicans, these right-wing extremists in the Republican Party, think they know more than people who work with the National Weather Service. And apparently they don't even care if their own children are going to survive much longer.
Right. That's true. Exactly. I want to thank you so much, Brian, for joining our conversation. Have a great rest of your evening, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks a lot, Patty.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry, everybody. I have 2 seconds left. I want to say, Roosevelt, Dave, thank you for calling, guys. It's at the end of the show. I've got to run. Thank you, Lady B. Thank you, Matt, for coming in and making sure people know about how they can win the family 4-pack passes, family pack for Wizard World on our website. Go to WCPT820.com to register to win those. And I've got to go. Now I'm late. See, I went past those 2 seconds that I had. Rick Unger Show is up next. Hi, Betty and Larry. Please let me know how dinner is. See you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Wizard World returns to Chicago October 15th through the 17th at Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont. Celebrate pop culture and meet William Shatner, Michael Rooker, Outlander's Sam Heughan, and stars from Harry Potter, Buffy, Arrow, Once Upon a Time, and more. Plus, artists, Q&As, music, you name it. You can even dress up in your favorite costume. It's okay.